Welcome into the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are here breaking down the Week 5 NFL slate, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man of the people in the room. G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
You know how I'm doing, Tanner? I am rejuvenated. I feel refreshed, and I'll tell you why. So last night, I went on over to NFLshop.com, or maybe it was Fanatics, I don't remember. And I searched Jayden Daniels jersey. And I went ahead and I bought my first Commanders WFT, the Washington, the old R word. I bought my first jersey since I had a Robert Griffin III jersey, which is back in 2012. And long ago, I made the decision, I'm not going to give money to Dan Snyder. I'm not going to support him. And I also knew our team was trash. And the few players who weren't trash were probably trying to skip town as soon as they could. So I just never bought a jersey. I even went to a game last year, which I know is giving money to Snyder, but it was the new ownership group at that point. And I went with a hoodie on. I had a $30 hoodie from Amazon because I didn't own a jersey to wear. And I finally bought my first jersey in over a decade last night. And I am excited to be a fan of this team again.
The jerseys are just so ugly, Grant. Like, I'm sorry to say, like, it's cool you bought a jersey, but they're ugly jerseys.
They're not the best. No, it's funny. You know how, like, if you hold up a white t-shirt, you say, I'll give you $10 for it. You slap a Polo logo on it. Now it's 100. You put a Nike logo on it. Now it's 75. I feel like it's like that with NFL jerseys or just sports team jerseys, because the Commanders have been awful for who knows how long. So we just look at the jerseys and say, yeah, that's an Arena Football League jersey. But I'm not going to lie. When you see the Daniels and the 5 on it, all of a sudden it looks a little bit cooler. Now, do I think we have the best color scheme in the league? Do I think we have the best design? No. But I do think there just is a level of subconscious stigma that is attached to it.
I guess they're not bad, but they do give off like arena football vibes. I wish the NFL jerseys, like if you're going to go all in and make like really cool jerseys, like the Lions were in black the other night, like let's make these jerseys like as wild as we can get. Let's not have a style guide that fits to every team, basically. Like, let's let every team get a designer and say, we're going to make the most wild, coolest looking jersey like they do in college football, if that's what we're going to go with. If we're not, let's just wear one alternate and 2 regular jerseys and keep it simple. Name on the front, name on the back, number.
Well, the coolest jerseys in the world are some of the late 90s, early 2000s NBA jerseys. The throwback Toronto Raptors, the throwback Vancouver Grizzlies, the Utah Jazz, the Denver Nuggets with the rainbow stripe on it. Those are the coolest jerseys you'll find. And I just hate this whole wave of minimalism. It's not just jerseys either. Like, go look at a Taco Bell or a McDonald's compared to what they looked like 20, 30 years ago when you had the big arch outside and you had all the colors. We're just going away from that. And I don't know who made it cool. I'm with you. I want the wild jerseys, maybe not the Pittsburgh Steelers prison inmate jerseys, but I would prefer that to just a solid black uniform. As ugly as it is, I would like to see some color and some more expression.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think too, when it comes to the jerseys, we're too much in this like style guide era. We just need to get out of it. Everyone needs to have some fun here because it's the NFL. We got to have some fun. Steelers jerseys are really ugly. There's a lot of ugly jerseys. Like the Commanders definitely aren't there. They're trying to like modernize a little bit, but it's still it's not
And
great.
I will say the jersey I got is more of the traditional burgundy. Now they're a little more red. I went with the burgundy, and I think that helps.
I'm just trying to figure out too, like why the NFL thinks. And don't get me wrong, I love the Buccaneers creamsicle jersey. It's classic. But just because we go to creamsicle, like doesn't make the jersey new and cool. Like it's just a throwback jersey. Like the Eagles Kelly green, like those are cool. But like we could do so much more with an updated creamsicle color that we wear a few times a year. So much more with like an updated Kelly green jersey, not just going to the old roots and changing the color and making it a solid color jersey. It's cool, but it's still not modernizing anything.
No, I agree. And I understand the Lions black uniforms that they wore were actually throwbacks. I think it was from the 50s or the 60s or something. But that was the first time in who knows how long that they had worn it. So it did look new to me. The Eagles Kelly green, I understand it's a throwback, but it's not new because I've seen it before and it does really feel like a throwback. This Lions one felt completely new to me. And as a result, I actually really liked it. I don't like the Colts ones because I think they look too similar to Duke, but I did like what the Lions had.
And also, too, like, I didn't know they were throwbacks, but you have the modern Lions logo on it. And then on the numbers, you have dots on the numbers like mesh. Like, there's no way that was on the original jersey. So they did, it looks like they modernized them a little bit for sure.
Yeah, and I mean they should. At the end of the day, I find it ridiculous that a lot of NBA, NFL teams, MLB teams as well, they've only got 2, 3 uniforms. I don't understand why we're not switching it up. At least let's go with at least 4, 5, 6 in a season. I understand maybe you're trying to stick to your branding, but at the same time, it's just something to get the fans more excited. And at the end of the day, it's more jerseys that you can sell for more money. Like a lot of people hated the NBA in-season tournament courts where they repainted everything, even though some of them didn't look great. And I understand it was kind of hard to watch a Rockets game when the entire court is bright red, but it's fun. It's color. It's just something to get you more excited about the game. I think the same applies to jerseys.
Yeah. And then final thought for me on the jersey situation here. When we're looking at the jerseys in the NFL right now, Grant, who has the coolest jersey?
Who has the coolest jersey? Are we talking general or throwbacks included?
What's one jersey that you love?
I mean, I shouldn't say this as a Commanders fan. I love the Kelly Green Eagles. And I went to a game in person where I got to see them play, and I saw just a horde of Philadelphia fans. And I didn't think I was going to like the color. Looking at it from the television, it doesn't look amazing. It looked awesome in person, especially when people had the matching Air Forces with the same green. It looked really good. So those are probably my favorites. I actually like the Bills uniforms too, though. I do like the Bills.
I like the Bills. I like the Jags, but they're trash. There's a few good ones. I think last subject here, 8 away jerseys. If you're playing 16 games, 8 away jerseys, you're not playing 17, but let's make it even. 8 away jerseys, 4 home jerseys, 2 alternate jerseys, where the alternates twice, or maybe even 3 times, 5 and 3. That's what they should do.
I'm sorry. It's 8 away jerseys.
8 away, like 8 white jerseys. Like you're going to wear white 8 times. Then you're going to wear your alternate 3 times at home. Maybe on the road once if you want to, and then you're going to wear your regular home jersey 5 times.
So 3 jerseys, but that's the breakdown of where you would wear them.
Yeah, like the Bucks are going to wear their creamsicle jersey 1 time this year, maybe twice. I don't know. Like that's not enough to sell it.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. Save the alternates for the home games. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, Grant. Well, before we get into the full podcast today, we just had a nice little jersey talk there. Make sure you guys go to WSN and check it out. Promo codes, picks, articles, you name it, it's on there. You're going to be a better sports bettor if you consume WSN content and Ride the Line content, right, Grant?
Consume the content. I love it. Yes, absolutely. WSN.com. Also hit the subscribe button because Tanner and I are not posting videos just for ourselves. It's for you guys too.
No, please watch them. Please like, please comment, please share. If you like listening to us, views are going up, guys. Like listening to us. Make sure you comment, like, and share. We'll get back to you. Anyways, Grant, we got the Minnesota Vikings against the New York Jets in London, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the kickoff.
They're still in London. They speak English. What was the accent?
Chip Cheerio. We have the Minnesota. I can't even do it. And my grandmother's from Scotland too. We have the Minnesota Vikings going in to face the, I hung out with a couple Irish boys the other night. They're like not exchange students, but they're here on a visa. So I was talking to them. I guess I forgot to speak how they spoke, but I should know better accent than I do.
So my girlfriend's whole family is very Irish, and her dad actually they live in Georgia. He went to the University of Georgia. After he finished there, he went over to Ireland and he actually worked in a bar. So he's about as Irish can possibly get. And so I was down in Georgia when I was meeting her family for the first time. I was out with my girlfriend and her parents, and I'd seen them on FaceTime, spoken to them on the phone and everything. And they'd actually been up here before, so I had met them there. This was our first time really, really hanging out. And the 4 of us are out walking around, and the girls decide that they want to stop in a store that sells dresses. And obviously that's not really a guy's place. And so my girlfriend's dad looks at me and says, "Hey, you want to go grab a beer?" And I'm like, "Sure, obviously, like, let's go do it. We don't want to stand here. We don't want to watch them try on dresses." So we get to this bar, And all of a sudden, I start having the mental conversation of how quickly do I drink this beer? Because I don't want to put it away and look like a total degenerate my first time hanging out with him. But again, he's very Irish, lived in Ireland, worked in a pub. So I was caught between the lines of do I feel the need to like prove myself, or is that an ego thing? And do I sip it slow and be responsible? I ended up going pretty fast. I drank it pretty fast, and so did he. So it worked out.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide. That's good.
Can't say that in Georgia. You'll get in a fight.
Roll damn Tide. Okay, so the Minnesota Vikings will face the New York Jets. They are a 2.5-point favorite in Tottenham Stadium. Tottenham, that's how you say it. Tottenham Stadium.
Not how you say it.
In London. For this game. It's going to be a dogfight here. I think this could be the game that the Minnesota Vikings will lose because you are in London and the Jets are coming off a really bad performance. And I think the Jets are better than they showed against the Broncos. However, I don't think they're great. I also don't think the Minnesota Vikings are great. So, Grant, my question to you is, how legit are the Minnesota Vikings?
Well, you might be asking me the question, but it was actually my idea to put this topic on here. And the reason is the whole last 2-3 days, ever since the Vikings won again, because they're one of the 2 undefeated teams in the league, you listen to power rankings or just contenders, who's the best team in the NFC, everybody's saying the Minnesota Vikings. And they have played some of the best football in the league. That's why they are one of only 2 teams that have 4 wins and no losses. But if you're ranking contenders, everything has got to be done with not only just context, but you've got to take your previous knowledge of teams and players, and you've also got to try to project things. When we talk about who is the best team in the league, we are not allowed to only look at the 4 games that have been played. Again, you got to look at who's the quarterback, who's the head coach, are they injury prone? What do we know about their matchups? Do we think they're going to get better? Do we think they're going to get worse? Can you look me in the eye and definitively tell me you are more afraid of the Minnesota Vikings than you are the Cincinnati Bengals in the playoffs? I don't think you can. One team's 4-0, one team's 1-3, but that doesn't matter. So you've got to I think my camera glitched out right there. I think we're back though. That's why it doesn't matter. So do I think the Minnesota Vikings are legit? I don't think they're legit contenders. Even if they go on to win the NFC North, which they are in position to do, Brian Flores, his defense is playing great right now. We've seen in the past it's tailed off as the year has gone on. Sam Darnold is playing very well, but I don't expect him to keep this up. And I am a very large Jets critic. I have them missing the playoffs. I'm going to double down on what you said. I think they win this game. I think they have to, first of all. Also, this run that the Vikings are on, I think there is not an element of luck, but just they've got spirit and they've got momentum. When you fly to a different continent, you break that. And I think you're going to see things change. Darnold's going to throw some interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, I think, kind of has to play a good game here. So I would take the Jets to beat the Vikings.
Yeah, it's desperation. That's what it comes down to. I think the New York Jets need to win the football game, and that's the biggest difference here. But, looking at the NFC in terms of the NFC North right now, the Minnesota Vikings are 4-0. The Lions are right behind them at 3-1. I think the Lions are by far the most team with most upside in the NFC right now, even higher than the 49ers, because we don't know what we're getting with Christian McCaffrey. Detroit's hungrier. They're very good on offense, very explosive on offense, and that's what it takes to beat the San Francisco 49ers. But looking at the NFC right now, it's wide open, and I don't see the Minnesota Vikings as a legit contender. And the biggest reason for that is, what have they done to prove it? They've won 4 football games. They've beaten good teams, but they've won 4 football games. The Lions have proven it. They've proven they can get there. The 49ers have proven it. The Seahawks have proven they can be a competitive team, right? We still haven't seen the Vikings go out and prove it. So at the end of the year, we'll probably change our opinion on this. But right now, at least, you can't strike them as a legitimate contender.
And I feel the same way about the Commanders, even though they're my team and I'm so excited to be excited about them. People are saying, yeah, they're going to win the NFC East. And with all the Davante Adams news, they're saying if they go get Davante Adams, all of a sudden they can make a run. I'm thinking to myself, why? What have the Commanders done to say that we are contenders for anything? I understand Jayden Daniels looks awesome, okay? And as a fan, that has me more excited than anything. But this is still one of, if not the worst defenses in the entire league, with a head coach who a lot of people aren't a fan of, for not because of the person, but just some of his decisions. People weren't a fan of Cliff Kingsbury coming into the year. We have no idea about Joe Wood Jr. as defensive coordinator, and Jayden Daniels is still a rookie quarterback. So why would the Commanders look at themselves as contenders right now because they are 3-1 with wins against some of the worst defenses in the league? You've got to apply context to everything.
Yeah, I think the Commies are going to have a rough time this weekend, Grant. I think
Against the Browns?
Defensively, Browns defense against the Commanders offense. I think this is where it's going to be a little challenging for Jayden Daniels.
Well, the Browns actually have not been very good on defense so far. Now, I think that is just them underperforming, and I do expect them to get better. But Deshaun Watson is just so bad. If you look at all of the numbers, I mean, they've got him grouped with, whether you want to look at like EPA or honestly just quarterback ratings, things like everything it's grouped with him and Bryce Young, who we're going to talk about in a second there. That's how bad he's playing. Nick Chubb is back at practice. I would be kind of surprised if he plays in this game. And if he does, don't think he would be 100%. He's going to be rusty. So I think it's going to be close. I would probably still take the Commies to win, even though I don't. At 4-1, I guess it is kind of hard to say they're not a real team, but I still wouldn't put them in that tier.
Yeah, I wasn't saying not win the game. I was just saying like Jayden's going to have a tougher time this week than he's had against any defense.
Oh, he should. He absolutely should. One thing that the Commies did when they played the Bengals was they basically threw to the complete other side that Trey Hendrickson was on. So I don't know if you're going to see a similar thing with Myles Garrett here. Like if Garrett's over on the left, we're just going screens to the right. I guess that's one way to play around it.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of Bryce Young, Grant, you just brought him up. Let's talk about him. Should the Carolina Panthers get rid of him with how well Darnold's playing and knowing the future draft class of NFL quarterbacks coming?
I think you mean Andy Dalton.
Yeah, who did I say?
Darnold.
They're all trash quarterbacks in my head. Not trash. That's mean to say, but yes, I did mean him. And again, my thoughts on Andy Dalton are he was an average quarterback when quarterback play was hard. So now he can obviously shred teams. He looked good against the Bengals, missed some throws. They probably could have been more competitive in that game if he made a few throws, and they were. I mean, they came down to, I believe, a one-score game or close to it. So, Grant, what should they do with the Red Rifle himself?
Well, with the Red Rifle, I guess you just at the end of the year sign him to another 1-year deal, keep kind of stringing him along until he decides he wants to hang it up. With Bryce Young, you don't want to close on the asset. You don't want to get rid of him, especially while his value. You traded Caleb Williams, essentially Darnell Wright, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, someone else I'm forgetting, and another second-round pick just for Bryce Young. And if you traded Bryce Young now, you would get what, like a third-round pick? So if you look at it in reverse, you traded 2 or 3, I think it was 3 first-round picks, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore for a third-round pick. One of the worst trades in the history of sports, not just the NFL. So you don't necessarily want to make that move right now. And Dave Canales, I guess the bright side is Dave Canales is actually doing some good things with this offense. If you look at how Andy Dalton has played since he went in there, you also look at the offensive line. Carolina actually quietly has one of the best offensive lines in the league this year. So if you can go through a year or two where you bring in better running backs, better receivers, you clean the defense up, then maybe it becomes a position for Bryce Young to step in there and revitalize his career. The problem is I don't at all trust the front office to make those decisions. I don't trust Carolina to progress to a place for Bryce Young to have success. Now, do I think they're going to trade him soon? I don't. I think they're going to hold on to him. But honestly, and I don't wish this on him, but I honestly think they're just going to throw him back out there, and then over the next year or two, he's going to be awful, and they'll probably kill his NFL career.
The problem is he's like 5'10". That's the biggest issue here, because if he was 6'4", I think his value would be a lot higher, because at least I know that he's a prototypical NFL quarterback. He doesn't fit the height requirement for the most part, and he's also playing bad. So that's 2 concerns there that you're getting. At least if I got Will Levis, who's probably never going to start for the Tennessee Titans again, maybe he will, but Mason Rudolph looked really good. At least if I'm taking Will Levis, I know this kid's got a rocket arm. I've seen him being able to compete a little bit. He's got a lot of head junk right now. And he's also 6'4" and an absolute stud. So like I can work with that. I can't work with Bryce Young.
Yeah, and if you look at some of the other shorter quarterbacks that we've seen, Kyler Murray pops into mind. Well, Kyler Murray is an elite athlete, particularly with his legs. If you look at a Drew Brees, who's still 5'11", 6 foot, still taller than Bryce Young, but he was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the history of football. Baker Mayfield, who is like 6'1.5", he's still like, he's got weight on him. He can survive the hits. He's also a fierce competitor. With Bryce Young, he obviously has the tools to be a good quarterback at some competitive level. He was awesome at Alabama, won a Heisman, but he was just so used to playing with the best college football head coach ever, probably the best roster that you could find in college football. Everything was on time, in rhythm. It was about being able to use his brain to pick teams apart. Because the team around him is so bad, the situation around him is so bad, he can't go to that. It can't be a timing and a processing thing. You're going to have to make these freakish plays outside the pocket. You're going to have to withstand hits. You're going to have to improvise, and that's not his skill set. Just the same way that, you don't ask a 103-mile-an-hour pitcher to start throwing curveballs down and out. That's not what they do. It's not their game. If you ask them to do something they don't specialize in, it's going to look completely different. So, is there a team out there? Honestly, I think the team that gives Bryce Young the most chance of success is probably the Miami Dolphins. I think that with all the speed that's around them, with how quickly the ball gets out, all the motion, how things rely on timing, I think that system fits him the best. And I don't know what Miami's going to do with Tua's concerns, obviously, but I don't anticipate them making a move for Bryce Young either. If Tua, I know he's on pace to come back, but let's just say he decides to hang it up, I think Miami would just go back into the draft and kind of reboot. So I really don't know where Bryce Young goes.
You're not going to win a Super Bowl with Bryce Young. No chance. Absolutely no chance to win a Super Bowl with that. You can't win a Super Bowl with Tua. How are you going to win with Bryce Young?
It's hard to argue that.
Yeah. In college football, like Bryce Young looked great at Alabama. It's also trash. Like we watched Georgia play Alabama. That was the worst played game on both sides. I mean, you got Jalen Milroe just chucking the ball up in the air. Carson Beck just chucking the ball. There's no thought process. Like guys are just getting open, right? It's not the NFL. Like you can't see that comeback happen in the NFL just because guys are actually legitimate. We're in college. Those are the best athletes in the world for their age, right? But there's still a ton of mistakes, and guys get open so much easier than they do in the NFL.
Well, you know what? Honestly, if that's why there's so many concerns with Jayden Daniels. 80% of his throws were outside the numbers, and it really wasn't because LSU said avoid the middle of the field. It was, we have Malik Neighbors. We have Brian Thomas Jr. They are better than everybody. We're just going to go bombs away. I've actually just last night, it popped in my head. What would have happened if Caleb Williams played at LSU and Jayden Daniels played at USC? Would Jayden have gone number one because there wouldn't have been the concerns about he has to share the credit with the elite receivers, whereas Caleb Williams, we don't know how good he's going to be. He just had great weapons. Is that part of what played into it? I don't know.
I mean, they both had good weapons.
Yeah, but I mean, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. for 2 years compared to Jordan Addison for 1 year, that's a pretty big difference.
If Caleb Williams didn't present himself like a douche sometimes, like oftentimes, like people would have loved him coming out of school.
When you coming out of school, you're saying while he was there, or during the draft process?
Like during the draft process, when like everyone was saying like Caleb, like a lot of people said Caleb Williams was going to be a bust. And that's just because of how he answered questions, how he didn't show up to work out the combine. Like there were a lot of things that made people not like him, which I think ultimately put him into that bust more category. Like Jayden, I think people thought he was going to be good if he could stay healthy. Jayden also conducted himself very professionally. Like he never talks, Well, there was the whole thing. Do you remember the Topgolf situation? No, what was that?
So the Commanders took everybody in the league knew that Caleb was going number one. There were questions about who was going to go number two. It wasn't until like a few days before the draft that Jayden kind of fell to like -3, -400. But for a while he was like +120, and then you had JJ, you had Drake, you had Penix Jr. So the Commanders took, I think it was those four. I think it was Jayden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., JJ McCarthy. They took them all to Topgolf and they all played together. And basically there was this whole thing of like, you should interview them and get to know them, work them out if you want on their own. Why are you forcing them to hang out? What do they care? And basically Commanders were saying, we were almost doing it for them. We know how stressful most of these interviews are, so we thought when they came to us, we could make it easy for them. But there was this whole thing that after that happened, apparently Jayden Daniels' family and agent weren't happy that the Commanders forced him to do that, and they were thinking about saying, "Don't draft my son, send him somewhere else." So there was this week or so where it did look like Jayden might be a bit of a diva, but now that we've seen him, we know that's not the case.
Nah, Caleb's the only diva in town.
He hasn't been bad in the NFL. Well,
He hasn't been good.
His comments and everything have not been bad. I understand the Hard Knocks, especially kind of puts you off. But as far as his press conferences and everything, he's not been attention seeking. He hasn't been a diva so far.
No, he's fine. Like the diva stuff was coming out of college. There was a lot like not working out the combine, not answering questions, not sharing the medical tests. Like it just that was probably more the issue there with him. That's just how he presents it. Look at Will
asking
Levis.
for ownership of the team,
like all the like there was a lot of stuff that's like you haven't done anything yet. Like look at Will Levis. Will Levis was like he's become an internet meme. If Will Levis presented himself in a way that wasn't the mayo eating, banana skin eating, sex tape douche, like, and again, Will's a good dude. You know, he's a good kid. But when you look at all this stuff, how he presents himself to the media and to the outside public, he's getting picked on more because of that now than if he was just, I'm going to keep my head down, I'm going to work.
I was listening to Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Ocho, and they had primetime Deion Sanders on. Yeah. And whether or not you're a fan of Coach Prime, the coach, I think most people like Deion Sanders, the personality, the guy. That was one of the funniest podcasts that I've ever seen. But at one point, they got to talking about, and they were making fun of Chad Ochocinco. They said, if you guys only knew what the actual people inside the locker room were, the guys you think are darlings, they are some of the worst people you've ever met. And the media villains are actually the biggest sweethearts in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's the case with Will Levis too. I'm sure he's a good dude. I'm sure people are rooting for him, but like he's getting picked on more on Twitter and the internet, and people are happy to see the downfall because of just how the outside the sponsorships were. Also, but too, if he performed, people would love it. They would eat that right up, right? So it's the risk reward of being, you know, like an outspoken guy in the media when it comes to, you know, commercial deals and NIL and all that stuff.
AFC, Tanner, Ravens, Bengals. Very, very big matchup here. If the Bengals lose this one, they fall to 1-4. They're out of the playoffs. I'm sorry. I don't see a way in.
Bengals win this game, Grant. This is just clear cut, as dry as you get it. Bengals are winning the football game. They have to. Again, it comes down to desperation. I think their defense is really bad. They're better against the run than they are against the pass. The pass is concerning. The secondary is very concerning. But if you can shut down Derrick Henry, there is a route to winning this game. They play up to their competition. The Ravens are coming off a blowout win. This is a perfect letdown spot on the road against a Bengals team that just is desperate for a win. I'm seeing the sharp side is Cincinnati right now. And also, if the Bengals were that bad, they'd be more than a 2.5-point dog at home. It'd probably be 3.5, 4. So considering it's 2.5, I'd lean Bengals.
What you said right there, that's the key right there at the end. If the sharps or the odds makers thought the Bengals were that bad, they wouldn't be that close on the spread. It actually reminds me of a bet I saw yesterday. It was Zach Eflin. It was a total outs bet. The line was at 15.5. He had gone over in like 11 of his last 12 games. He had a crazy ERA. He had a very good game going through 4 innings, only 1 earned run, 4 hits, only at 75 pitches, and they took him out at 12 outs, even though he'd gone over it. So it's one of these that is definitely a trap line, and you have to acknowledge that. And Tanner, I'm actually privy to some inside information here. Not really, but got an email from a trading leader at Bet365. This was as of yesterday. So as of Wednesday, 84% of the action is on the Baltimore spread. 84%.
Yeah, so the public's on one side, and you can look at it too. Like if we pull up at least the DK splits, which because we have those live in real time, when you're looking at those with the Bengals right now, 79% of the bets, 74% of the money, 21% of the bets, 26% of the money's on plus 2.5 here. So it's just publics all over one side. I've just heard sharp money's coming on Cincinnati again, a game they have to win. I think if they were a 4-point dog, I'd be a little more concerned. But since they're plus 2.5, I think they're going to do enough to win the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Baltimore is a better team, and it's
Much better.
impossible to be happy with how the Bengals defense has played up to this point. Joe Burrow's been great ever since week 1, but I'm with you. I think the Bengals kind of defy all odds here, keep their season alive. Because again, if they lose this, they are done. You cannot get into the playoffs at 1-4, especially in that division.
And Joe Burrow has he's gotten a lot of backlash for the team results, but he's played some of the best football he's ever played to open his career, in the beginning of a season. So we need to credit Joe Burrow. This offense is good. They can move the ball in Baltimore.
Yeah, I agree. And the Ravens defense is not what it has been in years past. I understand they looked awesome against the Bills, but that was the outlier. They actually had the worst pass defense in the NFL, or second worst behind Washington through the first 3 weeks. Joe Burrow's last 3 games, Tanner, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, still a QBR of 88, which is actually his highest of the year. Before that, 324 yards, 3 touchdowns. Before that, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns. So one get the rust out game in week 1. It was a big upset loss that really hurt, but ever since then, he's been dialed in.
Yeah, 100%. Grant, we ready to move on to Sunday Night Football here?
Yes, the game of the week.
Game of the week, Dallas Cowboys versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are a 2.5-point favorite at home against the Cowboys. We probably never, going into the season, I would never thought this line would be 2.5 in favor of the Steelers with Justin Fields. I probably thought it would be flipped the other way. Dallas doesn't play good defense, though. They're beat up. Micah Parsons is going to be questionable for this game. They can't stop the run. You're going against a team that loves to run the football. And offensively, the Cowboys are very sporadic. They're good. When they're good, they're good. But sometimes they can't move the ball. So really interesting line here, Grant. Who are you taking?
I'm taking the Cowboys, and I don't like it. It's kind of the same situation as Bengals and Ravens. I think the Steelers are the better team right now. I would favor them. They are the home team, and I'm taking the Cowboys. If you look at the Cowboys' weaknesses, it is primarily defending the run. Pittsburgh has been trying for years to establish the run game. They just can't do it. I thought they should have moved on from Najee Harris last year, the year before. They decided not to do that. Now they're stuck with him. The offensive line hasn't been great. Justin Fields gives you an added element of dynamicism, but I just don't see that. You're not really digging. You know, when they say there's a wounded animal, you go hunt it. Like in basketball, a player sprains his ankle, you put him in the pick and roll, you go after him. I don't think Pittsburgh can do that with the Dallas run defense, because I just don't think they have the horses to do it. Now, the question is, how is Dallas going to get past Pittsburgh's defense, because that defense has been so good? Well, I mean, Joe Flacco just kind of exposed it last week, and Anthony Richardson was playing decently before he went out with an injury. We know that Dak and CD can have this unstoppable combination. Now, the problem is, do they have the talent around them to step up? It's not going to be the running game. We know that, but can a Ferguson, can a Jalen Tolbert, can they step up? Can they pull their weight? Again, I don't love this pick because I think the Steelers are better, but I think the Cowboys are going to bounce back. I think this is just one of those games.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have to. And it's a situation where the Steelers aren't going to put up 1,000,000 points in this game, even against the Cowboys' bad defense, especially if the Cowboys can play like they did against the run last week. So this is a moment where I think the Cowboys can find a way to win the game just because they're so much better on offense. I think their offense will eventually crack the Steelers defense more than the Steelers offense will crack the Cowboys defense.
I agree with that. And I think the reason that you are seeing the line where it is an indication DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons are not playing in this game.
Mm-hmm. So if they were, maybe it's a pick on more they're favored.
Yeah, I think it's probably I don't know who it would be for, but I think it's a -1+1 game with them playing.
Definitely. Well, Grant, that was ride the line. We rode today. We rode the line today.
You did ride. Got still a lot of day left. Still a lot of riding to do.
A lot of riding. The day just started. We're almost the weekend. We're almost to football. Big game for the Bucs tonight. Does Baker win tonight, Grant?
He does. The Buccaneers win this one. Falcons are favored, right? I don't get it. Where's the disrespect coming from?
Baker trashes them. It's good Baker's an underdog because he's a dog. He loves playing as a dog. So it's gonna be a fun one. Grant, take us out of here.
Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. Tanner and I appreciate you all tremendously. If you have subscribed already, you guys are the best. If you haven't, the subscribe button is right there. Go ahead and click it for us. Hit that like button as well. Jump in the comments. Let us know who is winning tonight, Thursday Night Football, Buccaneers, Falcons. We will catch you all in the next episode of Ride the Line.